That's Mr. Ayodele Fayose, Governor of Ekiti State. The People's Democratic Party has also been speaking about this matter too. The stance of the PDP is not too far away from what the governors of the PDP are saying in some Wike and Ayodele Fayose. Take a look at the portion of the PDP statement that says in this statement, and I quote now, "This invasion is the latest in a series of actions taken by the President Muhammadu Buhari administration, which revealed its disregard for the rule of law and its abject disdain for the principle of separation of powers. This inexorable slide into fascism began with the invasion of the Akwa Ibom State Government House by the self-same DSS, the continued detention of several people despite courts ordering their release, the invasion of the Ekiti State House of Assembly and detention of Honorable Akani Afolabi, and the invasion of the Zamfara State House of Assembly. This slide into fascism has included a sustained attack on the leadership of the National Assembly as President Buhari sought to break its independence and make it a rubber stamp to suit his will. It is worthy to note that never in the history of our country has any president attacked the judiciary in such a manner. Even the late dictator, General Sani Abacha, whose regime is remembered by many as the second worst regime in Nigerian history, did not carry out such Gestapo-style attacks on the members of the judiciary. By bringing these attacks to the judiciary, President Buhari has shown that he has no desire to respect the pillars of our democracy. He has shown his desire to kill off our democracy and convert it to an autocracy without checks and balances." End of quote. That's according to the PDP. Well, now let's get perspectives to this matter now. Joining me from our Abuja studio is the senior advocate of Nigeria, constitutional lawyer and human rights activist, Chief Mike Ozekome. Many thanks for coming on the program. Let's start this conversation tonight by asking, some people say from the start, they said that there is corruption in the judiciary. Would you agree to that kind of assertion?
I will start by saying that you don't throw a blanket cover indicting everybody within the judiciary of corruption. You can say there are bad eggs within the judiciary. I agree. It is just like in every 12, there must be a Judas Iscariot. It is just like saying it under the present government, amongst the ministers, there are some of the ministers that are corrupt. It's just like saying that within the legislature, there are some members of the legislature in the Senate and the House of Representatives that are corrupt. It's just like saying that within the civil service, there are some people who are corrupt. So you cannot make a generalized statement by saying that the judiciary is corrupt. So you can single out some few bad eggs and deal with them accordingly by the National Judicial Council, as they did just only last week when they dismissed some judges and even recommended one of them specifically for prosecution under Section 193, 194 of the Constitution. Because of the three arms of government, beautifully enough, significantly enough, it is only the judiciary that has a self-deodorizing, self-winnowing, inbuilt mechanism by which it identifies bad eggs and remove them. Within the executive, they don't go against each other. Within the legislature, they don't go against each other. But the Constitution has made it mandatory that judicial officers must uphold great sacrosanct judicial conduct. And that where you deviate from it, then you are sanctioned. And if it borders on a crime, like the NJC did last week, he said, AIG of Kano Zone, hand over this judge to him for prosecution. But for God's sake, no arm of government, let me emphasize it, no arm of government has the prerogative to amass all powers absolutely, maximally, dictatorially, with itself alone, by being the accuser, by being the prosecutor, by being the judge, by being the jury, by being the executioner. The reason is simple. Power corrupts.
Just let me quickly ask you, if you will describe,
Louis XIV,
for example, just a moment, if we can just get this question to you, how would you describe a corrupt judge? Because in the legal parlance, the judgment of a judge is sometimes seen as sacred, or something that, when it's said, is almost next to a god. And so, how would you describe a corruption of a judge?
The corruption of a judge is something that is ignoble and quite detestable. It is odious, it is putrefying, it oozes of terrible smell, like what Ayi Kwei-Ama in his book, The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born, would describe as caked shit, split open by afternoon baking sun. Permit the vulgarity. I'm quoting from Ayi Kwei-Ama. So it is not something to be tolerated, because a perverted system of justice is the worst form of justice. So, because judges are representatives of God here on earth, the only man who can hand down the death sentence, and it is carried out if the governor signs, and mind you, because of the principle, the doctrine of checks and balances, the separation of powers, even after a judge says, you are hereby sentenced to death by hanging, and may God grant your soul eternal peace and all that, the judgment will still be referred to the governor for assent or for refusal.
At this point, so I would like us to quickly take a pause, and we'll go on a short break. And when we return, of course, the actions of the Department of Security Service is under the spotlight. The legality of the DSS raid is what we're talking about on the program. Jonathan.